Hello and welcome back to my channel, Chess Captures Threats. Today's episode, episode 43 of the Chess Guide, we'll be going over strong versus weak queens. So this is the last one on the strong versus weak part of this chess guide. So we've got, as usual, 4 examples, 2 strong positions, 2 weak positions. The first 2 of the strong and weak is going to be queens in positions like this here, and when there's a load of pawns and how we can actually activate our queen. So here we'll show how our queen is not active and how we can, try to make it active, but also show you the consequences of it. Also, the last 2 will be how to get your queen out all right towards the end of the opening and what not to do with your queen in the opening, vice versa. So, hopefully you're going to enjoy today's video. So, let's start. So, here, in this example, we have a even position here, but as we can see, white's queen looks a bit more active. If we just judge about the positions here, being on the edge of the board for black's queen is not the best. Here it limits squares, as we see with the knights and the bishops, and it's the same thing with the queens. Now obviously the queens you've got to be a lot more delicate with. Where you move it, you've got to be making sure you don't risk anything, because obviously being the most valuable piece on the board, as in movable wise, it's going to be something you have to be careful with. So, in a position like this, obviously, we've got a free pawn here, but we've also got other stuff like this check here. Now, obviously, this check has multiple things. Obviously, we're attacking multiple things here. We also, this is just showing what white can do. We have this, we even have this check, because they can't push, they would lose their queen. And which therefore means that they have to move the king. They can't move the king here because it's checkmate, because it blocks their square. And if they move out of the way, we're able to win a pawn. So just from this position here, we're already 2 points up, it says, because we can win about 2 pawns in this position. Whereas if we look at black's queen, it just hasn't got anything, because we can give our forceful moves, we'll say. We can do moves that forces the king to move or something like that, because it's a check. Because if we let, the check happen for black, they're going to probably get a lot. If I just move the queen across 1 here, that actually is drawing now. That's how different, because queens are it's like having a bishop on opposite coloured squares. They'll never attack each other, really, bishops, so it's really always a draw. So if you have good play, and each person has a queen with a load of pawns, most of the time, it will be a draw. But in positions like this, you have a lot of value as white to, make sure you can win. So again, any good moves like this would be, you could just take here. It's not the best out of the lot. I would say a move like this attacks all 3 of these, and, it's a queen in the centre. Very good thing here. So, hopefully, from that example, you understand how we can have our queen in the open again. So it's kind of like a bishop almost, because obviously the queen can't do what a knight can, but it can do what a bishop, a rook, and everything else. So gotta make sure you don't close it in as well. So in this example, as we see here, white's queen is trapped pretty much. It can escape, but it's not doing anything useful. It only has a select few moves, and wherever it goes, we're going to lose these 2 pawns, as we see here. Because there's no checks, and because it's trapped, it can go as far as this, and then we're just going to get 2 pawns lost with an immediate. Now, not really here. There is only one slight trick in this scenario that white can play, is this part here. If you take here, you have a skewer. So this is the only thing that limits it, but you're still 4 points down, because if black plays this, if white plays this, protecting this pawn, this is the best you're going to get, and you're still going to lose a pawn here, because after these checks, it either has to protect this pawn or this pawn, and it can't. So you're still losing pawns just every 2 seconds here, and soon you're just going to be limited to this sort of thing, and then you're just going to get the king in, for example. So what I'm trying to get across here is, if we go all the way back, that because white's queen is not in play, again, it just is acting as if it's just not there. Don't get me wrong, this is limiting things, as it technically protects this pawn, and you know it has some sort of thing. If black doesn't give a check, for example, you know there is chances of checks, you know, all over the board now. So you have got to be careful. So what we can learn from these two examples here is always use your queens in an open position. Try and always keep it open in the center most of the time, but also, you know, use it with pieces here. So we're going to go along that in a little bit. So hopefully now we can get that. Don't trap your queen in. So just act as if it's like a bishop almost. So we went over previously with the knights and bishops, how if you trap them, they're not very good. It's the exact same thing here. So hopefully you get that. Now, we'll use a very good idea here for the Queen's Gambit, because we obviously get our queen out in this. Now, this is what you should do. Now, we already know, opening principle, don't get your queen out too early. So, as you see here, knights before bishops, we're just using all the principles here. And then soon, just when the time is right, you see we get our bishop out here. Now, I would say any time along now. Because look, you get your queen out just a very little bit. It's not, you know, doing anything wrong. You know, you're not attacking stuff straight away. Now, you could do a move like this, but it's very risky. You're allowing their queen to come out and, you know, you're trying to attack in the opening. We're still just around the opening because we haven't castled yet. So a move like this is good because, you know, you're not attacking anything too much here. And another thing with queens is most of the time you have to pair up something with a queen. So a queen and a bishop, a queen and a rook, queen and a knight. Always try and pair it up with something. You can even try and pair it up with a pawn, you know. But as long as you can get something, a queen on its own will not always win. You can't checkmate with just a queen. That's all you got to know. So here, you know, when we got this bishop pair here, as we always say, we've got a very good line here. And it's just such a good combination because nothing's in the way. And as we see, we just play a few more moves. And even if black gets their queen out, it's just not as good because their bishop's not in the same part. It's technically attacking this pawn, but it will never be able to take it. So here, this is how you really want to get your queen out. Now, obviously later on, you would like to get your queen out probably other ways. Now, I would say stuff like getting it onto the edge at the start is fine. You know, moving it around, as we saw, I think, very early on in the rapid increase in my 10-minute games, you would see we would be moving around this a few times. So, there is that. Now, just to end off the last example, this is what not to do. So, obviously, as we've said, don't get your queen out too early. No need for this. This is just not right in any sense. Okay? Yes, we're protecting this pawn, but normally we want to get this pawn out to do this. It's for the bishop to take. But now we're doing this. This puts us in all sorts of trouble. Because now, firstly, they've got the development on us. Because we've got our queen out, which is just not going to work. Because it's not attacking anything. The point of the queen is to, like, really attack and, you know, try and get into the back ranks of, you know, that. But we don't want to do that straight away. You know, we're skipping processes immediately. So, you know, we just play a few moves. And at the minute, it's fine. But, you know, soon, I mean, because we're behind on development, we just play a few moves here. And already this bishop's now blocked in as well. And in positions like this, it's just not going to work. And you have moves like this now, actually, that I believe might even nearly trap the queen, actually, if you see here. There's very little moves, actually, if any. So you'd actually have to do something like this, or even this, just to escape. So that's a blunder, obviously, there. So hopefully you understand then not to get your queen out too early. Don't get me wrong, just towards the end of the opening, entering the middle game, feel free to get queen out. Just make sure you do not put it in a bad position. So that's it for today's episode. Hopefully you liked the strong versus weak little mini series in this chess guide. Now we'll be going over other stuff now, but still going strong here. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. So thank you and bye bye.